He who opens a school door closes a prison. This famous quote by Victor Hugo, who is considered as one of the greatest and best-known French writers, best illustrates the importance of education.
Good afternoon.
After the promulgation of the 2010 Kenyan Constitution, the country ratified most international treaties that protect the rights to education, which form part of the country's laws. The Constitution of Kenya in Article 53(1) states that every child has a right to free and compulsory basic education. In 2013, more than 1 million children will join school after the NAC government introduced the free primary education program at the start of President Kibaki's term.
This education is in the Constitution, basic education. The Lancaster House 1969 Constitution did not designate education as a basic human right. This one has. So that is the first gain, and that is the first hit, and that is the ground upon which now and the generation of posterity must build the provision of education.
Unfortunately, in the 10 years that we have seen influx of learners coming into our schools, the only thing that we have not seen is development of public schools. Most of the schools that were formed in Kenya during the Nyayo era, during Moi era, are still the schools that we have.
The Constitution also gave birth to adult learning. Kimani Maruge, or first grader, as he was famously referred to, was one of the beneficiaries. However, free primary education has also been a double-edged sword.
Most of our boarding schools are overflowing. I visited a school here in Nairobi called State House Girls, and some of the girls are even sleeping in what used to be the school store, where the bus used to park. You know, it has been turned into a dormitory. So our boarding facilities in schools are terrible.
The average number per class should be 40. So in a class that has 1,600 children, that means you need 40 classes. So those 40 classes, very few schools would afford such 40 classes, including national schools. So the government is also upgrading some of the best performing and more expansive schools to the category where many children can be admitted. Whether that designate the school as national or extra county, the government is in the plan of identifying the schools where there is more land for expansion and quality of learning is at its best.
Due to high student populations, many parents have opted to take their children, in some cases, to substandard private schools. Some of these institutions have not met the standards for conducive learning environment, hence putting students at risk.
We have seen in these 10 years schools collapsing because of, we saw the Talents Academy here in Nairobi, whereby it collapsed with children and killed children. We saw Kakamega Primary School. All this is congestion in our schools.
The document also established a Teacher Service Commission under Article 237, one of the greatest gains in the education sector. It allows teachers to have an independent body that governs and takes care of their welfare.
The president was able to meet with the union leaders, and they formed a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement, which was signed and deposited in court. And we have seen it actually paid all those years, the 4 years that it was on. So we want to say the Constitution gave teachers a new level of bargaining power, which we appreciate with this in these 10 years. And also more teachers have been recruited. By 2010, when this new Constitution was coming up, 2013, 2015, we saw what was happening was we had very few teachers. But right now the teachers in this country in government are 320,000 teachers. That's a big number.
According to Education CAS Zach Kinuthia, the Constitution has made it compulsory for Kenyan children to access quality education. Kenya is in the process of transitioning from the 844 curriculum to competency-based curriculum.
Everybody will transition to the next grade, regardless of the marks they have gotten, because marks will not be priority. It is about competence. Have you been able to understand the concepts that you are supposed to understand within your line of interest at this time? Yes. Let's go on. Let's go building you. Competency-based is going to be a ride in the wonderland. One more thing about CBC is that the role which 844 had removed from parent to the teacher of throwing the children and everything they wanted to know to the teacher, now this curricula has thrown the children back to us. Mtoto ni wangu na mwalimu. I mean, the child belongs to the government. as much as the child belongs to you as a parent.
Competence-based curriculum requires proper facilities because it's an experimental. It's not a theoretical kind of system. Again, we need our country, we need our leaders to sharpen themselves, to sharpen tools, to increase facilities in schools for the competence-based curriculum to succeed.
According to educationists, one of the biggest letdowns is devolving some roles to county governments. This includes employment and running of the early childhood development learning in county primary schools, as well as devolving vocational training.
To ensure that we are now addressing the concerns of our young people within the times we are living in, the president decided to ensure there is massive skilling of the young people to get skills, not certificates, but to skill them so that they can get something to do with their own hands, which is not tied to an interview, which is not tied to some form of HR modules, but a course in your mind that you can do with your hands that contribute generally to the growth of the economy.
The Constitution of Kenya provides under its second schedule that upon devolution, TVET institutions shall be under the responsibility of the national government. On the other hand, village polytechnics, craft centers and farmers training centers, and by extension similar institutions by train operators in vocational trades fall under county governments. The high rate of unemployment among graduates is yet another reason why TVET colleges are being revamped countrywide.
Dunia sasa inategemea mambo ya digital, kutoka mambo ya analog to digital, na ni kitu ya maana sana. Kuanzia standard 1 mnaanza kufundisha hii mambo ya computer, na hiyo itawezesha kufundishwa kwa njia vizuri.
With the advent of the COVID-19, analysts argue that digital learning may be the way to go.
This is going to be important for learning, so that in the future, if we would ever find ourselves in such a pandemic that stops classroom learning, we can only activate these smart rooms. In every school, activate these smart rooms and activate these smart rooms again at home, hoping that as a middle-level economy, we will grow into that level. At least where at least every community can have its own smart room, so that children can stream from there. And in them, what we were doing locally can move now digitally and deliver.
Dana Rose, K24.